All righty, thanks. All right, welcome to self-defense. An interesting spelling for a great topic of how our immune systems relate to our immunity in this fake cold and flu season, and how our immune system relates to our susceptibility to different types of cancer. And so my mission is to help save and change as many lives as I can by helping people integrate chiropractic and the five essentials of health into their life as their primary form of healthcare. Because if you're not doing something different, then you're going to be a statistic of American healthcare system. And so to ending the industrial medical complex that has shackled us into the worst healthcare system in the history of planet Earth. We are the sickest nation, industrialized country, and this is the Commonwealth Fund's 2024 report. This just came out in September. And what it shows is that of the 10 richest countries, we have the highest death rate from preventable problems. We have the lowest life expectancy at birth. We have the highest rates of cancer, heart disease, diabetes, all of the worst indicators of health, and that our healthcare system is twice as expensive as the next most expensive, yet we rank dead last in all the indicators. We are one of only 2 countries on planet Earth that allows the pharmaceutical industry to market directly to consumers, us and New Zealand. New Zealand is also way ahead of us, but it's the next last in its healthcare system. What you believe matters, because not only the placebo effect, right? We've proven in science that if I give you a pill for your cholesterol and it's the cholesterol medication and it should help, and I give you a placebo, if you believe in it, your cholesterol will get better. They've shown that. They've done millions of studies on it. But it's also because your habits are a choice based on what you believe. So if you believe all the information, all of the propaganda, all of the advertising that comes at you on the tell you a vision of your life as an advertisement, then you do not believe that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. You believe you should be afraid of how you're made. You believe that genetics determines your destiny. Raise your hand right now if anyone in your family has ever told you that cancer, some kind of cancer, runs in your family. Raise your hand. Right? All, just about. 90%. Okay, so now, the people who raised your hands, you're not allowed to raise your hands in answering this question. This is the other people. Now, raise your hand if someone has ever told you in your family that heart disease runs in your family. Right? Of the people that are left, just about everybody raised their hand. So in this country, most people believe that they're either going to die of cancer or they're going to die of heart disease, or that Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or something runs in their family. But the reality is that it's not your genetics that determines your destiny. Yeah. The fact is that what you do to your genetics determines your destiny. And that it's the habits. And so what you believe determines your choices. And it sounds a lot like this. If I believe that I am going to get cancer and it runs in my family, so my mom has had colon cancer, my aunt has had colon cancer, my granddad had colon cancer, and if I believed that I was going to get colon cancer, I might tell my children, hey, you know what? Colon cancer runs in our family. My aunt died of it. My mom had it. My granddad had it. So you're going to have it. So you might as well eat what you want to. Don't bother exercising. You know what? That stuff might help, but you know what? You're going to die of colon cancer. So you know what? Have some fun. Do whatever you want to do. That might be the family legacy that I handed down to my children. Some of you might have even heard that conversation when it comes to lung cancer or breast cancer or Alzheimer's or Parkinson's. Parkinson's runs in my family, so you're going to lose your mind, so you might as well enjoy your mind now. Not the fact that, hey, I learned something and it changed my life and I incorporated it in my life, and now my generational legacy to you is that cancer is not going to run in our family anymore. That Parkinson's disease that killed your great-grandmother and your grandmother doesn't run in our family anymore. What if that's the conversation? And that is the conversation for the people who are participants in this office, because some people get sick and some people don't. We learned this in COVID, right? We had 5 years of people who all of a sudden on the news, it was like, whoa, it doesn't matter what happens to you. Depends on how virulent the virus is, with how much you get, that determines whether or not you get sick. And if you get sick, it's just a flip of a coin. You're either going to die or you're not. And this is what everybody was hearing coming out. But then we learned through the next 5 years that it was the people with diabetes and heart disease and cancer who were on immune suppressive drugs. They're the ones that had the highest risk. And that apparently, if you took the gene therapy that we were told and it was sold as a vaccine, then you were learned that it was boys between the ages of 14 and 24 that had the worst susceptibility to having myocarditis. And I'm going to explain how that all works. And it's your belief that makes your choices. Do you believe in the germ theory that says that you catch cancer? It's just dumb luck. It's your genetics and dumb luck. Do you believe that the germs determine whether or not you get sick? And if you believe that, then the germs are going to win, and it's just random whether or not you get sick. But the other flip side of that when it comes to immunity is the terrain theory, meaning that the healthier your body is, the less likely you're going to get sick. So my 4-year-old and my 7-year-old sleep in the same bed. And then I have a 13-year-old and a 16-year-old. And so then my 7-year-old, he goes to this festival and he never eats like this. All of a sudden he's partying with his buddies at their school festival, and he gets cotton candy and he got a Gatorade, and we learned that he ate like 3 cookies, and he played for like 4 hours straight. And then he came home and he was so tired. He wouldn't eat dinner, nothing. He just went straight to bed. And he woke up the next day. Sure enough, he had a little sniffle. Then he got really sick. And then the 13-year-old got sick. And then the 16-year-old got sick. And after about 3 weeks of this, my wife taking care of all of them and them coming to bed with her, and she wasn't getting any sleep, she got sick. But me and the 4-year-old, who were sleeping in the same beds with the people who got sick, we didn't get sick. Why? Because I did everything that I'm going to tell you to do. And that we've got the extra sleep. We did all these things, and we made ourselves so strong that virus couldn't get a foothold in us. And it's all about this. If it was just about the germs, then we'd all be dead. We all came in contact with them. COVID, the flu, all the things, the measles, the mumps, the rubella, all the things. And so knowing how your immune system works is key, because it also determines the same parts of your immune system that fight the flu and bacteria infections. That same part is what fights cancer. And so your innate immune system is what you're born with. It's your barriers. It's the skin, and then the mucous membranes that line your airways and your digestive tract. And so that's what you're born with. And then you start your acquired immune system, hopefully, when you get colostrum, which is the first breast milk. That first breast milk is the mother for 9 months has been stacking all the antibodies into that breast milk. And it gets really, really thick, and it's really concentrated. And when a child is born, that's the coating that goes through that digestive tract and gives it all the antibodies that the mother was building throughout the last 9 months. for all the viruses, all the bacteria, everything she came in contact with. Now the baby has that immune system in the digestive tract. 70% of your immune system for your entire life is in your digestive tract. So if you got a sick gut, you got a sick immune system. And every time you take a round of antibiotics, you destroy the immune system. It's starting over. It kills the good bacteria with the bad bacteria. And that's why so many people will take antibiotics and all of a sudden they get a UTI or they get a thrush or they'll get a yeast infection or they get some other infection. It's because they destroyed their immune system. And then there's artificial immunity. And it tries to stimulate this acquired immunity. Your acquired immunity is white blood cells that gobble up bacteria and virally infected cells. And then there's B cells. B cells are what produce the antibodies. So different things in our lifestyle will affect them. And according to the American Cancer Society and the American Diabetes Association, the American Medical Association, everyone agrees that 90% of cancer is lifestyle related. 90% of heart disease, 90% of obesity, 90% of all the major killers is lifestyle related. So we're doing it to ourselves. So what are we doing? Because it's not just the drinking and the smoking, right? It's the other things. So when we look at acquired immunity, what happens is a virus comes in or your white blood cells identify a cancer cell and it gobbles up that cancer cell or the virus and it carries it back to your lymph nodes, your liver or your spleen. And it gobbles it up and it puts it in vesicles, which they made in nanoparticles. They replicated this. So they made these nanoparticles to which they were delivering the gene therapies that they labeled as vaccines. And so now these vesicles go into the lymph nodes and they open up and the B cells are trying to find their little lock and keys called antibodies. And they're trying to fit one on there. When it hits that virus part that it can fit on, it's an alarm goes off. And it sits there and replicates and makes copies of itself. Some copies go off to all of the lymph nodes to be memory cells. Other copies sit there and just duplicate and just churn out antibodies to go out and label. And antibodies are like heat-seeking missiles. They go through your cardiovascular system, and when they see a virus, they seek to it, they lock onto it, and it cripples it. Or it identifies cancer. So the white blood cells will chew up pieces of these cancerous that's now considered foreign material, carry it back to the lymph nodes, and your immune system's trying to form antibodies to it. And so the artificial immunity is the reason we have to have so many boosters and the reason that people are trying to get new vaccines and they're constantly talking about this is because it doesn't stimulate the immune system in the same way and it doesn't really work. This is why we have to have constant boosters. And so the artificial immunity we've seen, especially with these gene therapies, it just hasn't worked. So the best thing that we can do is learn what's crushing our natural immune system. So let's take a different look at this. Let's pretend, who here's a plant person? Anybody like plants? We got 1, 2, 3. Okay, great. Okay, so that's a peace lily. This is a peace lily. Who here, I know I'm guilty, who here's left the home and went on vacation or something, come home and found their plants just looking dead, man? Yeah, right on. Okay. You come home, you're like, oh, dude, that thing is dead. I don't know but you expect and you think, well, maybe I can revive that. Yeah, sure. So what do you do? What do you do to a plant when you think, give it water, give it some air, food, maybe give it some fertilizer? Yeah, right. Some supplements, some extra nutrition. And then you maybe check to see if it needs new soil or maybe it's root bound. You pull it out and go, oh man, that thing, it's up again, doesn't have enough room. I'll give it a better pot, give it some more soil, right? And then you do all of that expecting that this thing's going to live. And then when it perks back up and it comes back to life, do you get amazed? Do you call the newspaper and be like, dude, come look at this. I revived my plant. Do you freak out and call the news? No. Why? Because you gave it what it needed and you expected it to heal. But we don't expect that from ourselves. We go run into the medicine cabinet. We go looking for some drug to give us our immunity. And it's not it's a miracle that we survive. So let's think about this. If you get a virus and it's coming in and it's making you vomit, it's awful. I'm a ninny when it comes to throwing up. Sorry, just am. So I'm total ninny. But the fact is I know that my body is getting rid of that poison, the virus, or the bad food. If you get diarrhea, your body is getting rid of food out the other end, right? But it stinks. But we've been told, oh my gosh, you're going to get dehydrated. You're going to die if you vomit too much or throw up too much. So we take a drug that stops our body getting rid of the poison. It's a miracle we survive. Because we're not letting our body get rid of the poison. And we say, oh, it's so I can get some sleep. Well, you'll get sleep. Maybe not as much as you want right now. But we're all just trying to get well so we can go back to work and make ourselves more worn out. Either way, okay, so now you get sick. Maybe you get a fever. Right? What do? You go to the medicine cabinet. You take a fever-reducing pill. Well, they've shown in science that the perfect fever is 102. 102 fever is when your immune system is at its perfect. It's when the white blood cells are at their most active, and it's when it shuts down viral replication the most. But you don't hear about that. You just hear, oh, my brain will boil, and I might be permanently disabled or something, right? Go ahead.
So you're saying if your temperature is 102 to not take medicine?
Absolutely not. Definitely don't. Why? The only way that you're supposed to take medicine to reduce a fever is if you become listful. And they taught this, that you read the old Merck manuals from the 1950s, which is the book that they used to take to Africa, and they used to take to Brazil and all these places to treat people who didn't have medicine at all. The manual says, don't treat that fever until that person becomes like, oh, I can't do anything. You're having to wake them up. You're having to stimulate them and say, please drink water. You're having to put them in a cold bath. That's the only time that you're ever supposed to reduce a fever. Otherwise, the body's raising the fever to burn off the bug. Yes. Adults and children, period. My son, during this experience that we've been going through over the last about 30 days, hit 107. He stood up, walked in and got himself something to drink and complained about how bad he felt. And then he proceeded to go back to bed and lay down next to his mom and cough himself silly until he passed out and went to sleep. And every little bit, she'd wake him up and say, Johnny, you still thirsty? No, leave me alone. And then that was it. At 107. So it depends on the person. Totally depends on the person. It's different for every human being, and there is no perfect rule. You're the parent, you're the person, you know you better than anybody. If you're like totally fading out and you're like, oh my goodness, you better get some cold water, maybe get a cold shower and take a fever-reducing medication, or maybe get a ride to the hospital. But until then, that fever is your best friend. But this isn't what we're educated. The tell you a vision is telling you to be afraid of how you're made and that you need their drug. It is a $4.3 trillion industry. And I want to make you as sad. I apologize, but I got to share the wealth. Of the $4.3 trillion a year that is made in the most profitable system in all of humanity, our healthcare system is the most profitable healthcare system on the planet Earth. They make more money right here. Half of the world's drugs are taken by only 5% of the world's population. The United States, we're only 5% of the world's population. We take over half of the world's drugs. Of the $4.3 trillion, they only pay out 2% to every person who works in the healthcare industry. That's all the doctors, all the nurses, all the techs, all the staff, the people who mop the floor in the hospital. Only 2% of that money goes out to people who actually work in it. The other 98% is made by the pharmaceutical companies, the insurance companies, the chemical companies, the people who own the hospitals. That's who's taking the money. And we, the people, the sicker we can get, the younger we are, the more money they make because of the more of the drugs and the services that we'll have to take. And it is a business model. It is an industrial business model. So what are you going to do instead? How are you going to opt yourself out of the system and stop cancer from running in your family, and then talking about how the cold and flu season is? And it is understanding how the immune system works. You have to understand that every cancer is caused by a toxicity, a deficiency, or a loss of that body part's control with the tissue around it. It's one of those three things. Doesn't matter whether it's lung cancer from toxic smoking, whether it's lung cancer called mesothelioma that's caused from asbestos. Doesn't matter whether it's colon cancer. That tissue is getting some sort of irritation. So let's take your hand. And it's, by the way, the cancer is a survival mechanism. It is a process that your body is going through until it reaches a point that it can not compensate anymore, and then the cancer ends up eating its person that it's host, basically. It's just trying to survive. So let's think about this in this example. The callus on somebody's hand from working with tools. The skin thickens in response to the extra friction, right? It develops, it creates more and more skin cells so that the skin won't burst. And if it burst, then there would get an ulcer, and then there would possibly be an infection, and then the infection could get in the bloodstream and kill us. So the skin keeps thickening and thickening. But what you don't realize and what we don't teach is that the cells of the callus are actually different from the other skin cells of your hand. They're a completely different cell. They're meant to live without as much oxygen. They don't have a blood supply. They replicate faster. They are a natural response of our innate intelligence, that part of our body that runs our body, our soul, for all of us who are believers. That innate intelligence is a science word. We'll use the soul. The soul is running our body, and it uses certain parts of our body for different functions. And so the skin is evolving. Well, let's take the colon, because my mom has survived breast cancer and colon cancer, and I have helped her do both, or survive both. And now she's 81. And the colon cancer was just 3 years ago. So it's not like she was young when all this happened or anything like this. So when we look at this, when the colon is exposed to a certain amount of toxins, a lack of fiber in the diet, not the right bacteria, and then poisonous food, whatever's part is not getting enough of the nutrition and the oxygen that it needs, it will start to change to survive. The cells will start to change, and it'll form a polyp. Then it'll form an ulcer. And then it'll form what's called precancer. And then it'll go into cancer. And then it becomes stage 1, 2, 3, or 4. That's how cancer evolves. Doesn't matter what the body part is. So to understand cancer, we all need to understand that it's a deficiency, a toxicity, or a loss of control. What is the number one deficiency? Oxygen. That is why obesity causes an increase in all cancers. All of them. Because there's not enough blood supply to all of the tissue. And so everything's starving for oxygen. And when every cell in your body produces ATP for energy. So it takes oxygen and sugar, and it puts it together, and it runs it through the mitochondria, which is a little engine inside of the cell. And at the end of it, it produces 36 ATP. Well, when it doesn't have enough oxygen, it has to convert to fermenting the sugar. But fermentation only produces 4 ATP. So it's 9 times less efficient. And we take advantage of this in diagnosing cancer. The PET scan, anybody who's had cancer knows they found out if it had metastasized, if it had gone somewhere else by putting them through the PET scan. So what they do is they look to see, they make radioactive sugar. They have the person fast so that their blood sugar's low. The cancer needs at least 9 to 16 times the amount of sugar that a normal cell does. So when you're fasting, the cancer's starving. So now all of a sudden the cancer's starving, you're laying still, and they give you an IV of the cancer sugar, the radioactive sugar. Then they go into the scanner and they look to see if they light up like a Christmas tree or it's set just in the one spot. And you're praying for the one spot, right? Or wherever it was. That's the PET scan. We've known that technology since the 1940s when Otto Warburg found out about it. He found this out about how cells turn into cancer when they're lacking oxygen, and they've taken advantage of it. But I want to show you how twisted this is. I sat in on these appointments with my mom when her tumor in her colon ruptured, and that's how she found out she had colon cancer. She ended up having to go have surgery. And after the surgery, I'm sitting inside of this follow-up appointment with her with the oncologist, and my mom says, so what diet should I be on? And that's why the question's on the board. What diet should a person be on if they're having chemotherapy? Well, the diet, the lady says, well, it's nice to have a healthy diet. It helps with everything, but it's not going to determine whether or not we kill the cancer with the chemo. You can eat whatever you want. And my mom's like, wait a second, no, like I know differently. And that's when we knew that this person was just regurgitating their script. They're told to tell them the chemo's either going to work or it's not. The radiation's going to work or it's not. The immunotherapy's going to work or it's not. And so my mom just chose not to have chemo. She didn't have radiation with a breast cancer. So we did something different. Exactly what I'm going to teach you to do. We did the advanced plan. And it's all based on this sugar. So everybody's heard of ketosis, putting the body in ketosis and the ketotic diet and all these other things. Well, what that does is it makes your body switch over to burning fat, which usually we're just doing it to get to the beach. But in this case, sugar is the fuel of cancer, and it needs 9 to 16 times the amount of sugar. But sugar is also a suppressant to your immune system. So when we have a lifestyle that is full of sugar, if you eat 75 grams of sugar in a single setting, you suppress your white blood cell activity by 50% for at least the next 5 to 6 hours. So now give a 50-pound, like my son, who's 7, he went to that thing and he ate cotton candy cookies and had a Gatorade. He probably had 200 grams of sugar. And his immune system was probably only at 10%. Then he got tired. He got dehydrated from playing straight for 4 hours. And then he went home and went to bed without eating a healthy dinner. And he woke up sick. His immune system was suppressed. Let me show you how culturally bad sugar is, right? Our kids, who here's heard, well, let me tell you this story. The other day in the room, this grandparent says, oh man, I'm sick. I'm starting to get sick. Like I keep my grandkids, and they're little germ factories. And so they come home, got me sick. Anybody ever heard that one before? Kids are germ factories, right? Well, let me show you. So they go to school. The kids don't feed themselves. They go to school with whatever the mom or dad packed or the school's given them. And they walk into that school system and they eat the fruit cup, they eat the pizza, and then they drink the milk that has 13 grams of sugar in it. And then they might have that little packaged Oreo that sits down. All of a sudden now a 50-pounder has just had enough sugar to make a 180-pound person immune system go down for 50% for 5 hours. So their immune system's at like 80%. And then when they get home and they're sick, we look at them and go, oh man, you're sick again. Can't believe that, you little germ factory. Can't believe it. Go on to your room. I might have to miss work. Right? This is the thought process that goes on socially. This is the way that these kids are taught. But the thing is, it's the government and the way that they're feeding these people. This is what's taught. In the cold and flu season, it's no cold and flu season, folks. It's the candy holiday, followed by the pie holiday, followed by the cake and cookie holiday, followed by the Super Bowl, followed by Valentine's Day, that says 5 months of immune suppression. Because you got to go to mom's thing, you got to go to dad's thing, you got to go to the work thing, your kids are having the things at school, and you got to eat something. You don't want to offend nobody. You got to eat that, right? And so you go to all these things and you spend 5 months destroying yourself, and then you wonder why it's the cold and flu season. There's no such thing. It's called the suppressing your immune system for 5 months season, where it's socially acceptable to have your, I think it was your phrase of my recreational use of sugar. It was awesome. He came in the other day. He was like, well, I've been practicing my recreational use of sugar. And I was like, dude, that is perfect. It's what we do. That one's recreational use of sugar is totally socially acceptable. But diabetes and heart disease and cancer does kill more people than drugs put together. But, hey, we'll shave that one under the rug. It's just, 1.5 million people a year. We won't talk about that, right? But it's so funny. It's so perfect. And I'm always looking for new phrases, so thank you very much. And the thing is that if we're going to talk about surviving this, we got to get back to what feeds cancer. So now, if you put your body into ketosis, you're starving the cancer. So a person who's on chemotherapy, but let's back up one step more. What if a couple of times a year, maybe 3 months a year, every 3 months, we went 1 month really cutting the sugar out of our diet? Any cancer that was getting started in our body would be starved. Our immune system would go really high, and the white blood cells find it and kill it better. Because your white blood cells are trying to find the cancer as fast as it's starting, and that's what's eating it up. That's what prevents one person from getting cancer, is the lifestyle and a high-functioning immune system. So if we quit eating the sugar, we supercharge our immune system, and it's called the advanced plan. And it's not eating a bunch of junk. It's about what we're talking about is getting the body healthy. And so when we look at this, if we starve cancer, when the chemotherapy comes into the body, if they choose to do it, the chemotherapy is attached to a sugar molecule. So now the cancer's starving, it's weaker. Then when the poison comes into the body, the rest of the body has switched over to burning fat. It doesn't need the sugar. So the sugar gets sucked up 9 to 16 times more by the starving cancer, and the person who's using the chemotherapy gets less of the side effects. That's why being in the ketotic diet and the advanced plan is the healthy way of doing that.
And I have a question. My grandfather, he has diabetes, but he still got cancer, and he takes care of his diabetes, and he cut out his sugars and stuff like that. So how does that work? If cutting out sugars helps with cancer, then people with diabetes and stuff, then how does that work?
Well, it depends. Cancer didn't start when you get diagnosed. The cancer started 25 years ago. Every cancer in any human being started out as one cell. And then that cell was and then it started dividing. Maybe it had a deficiency. Maybe it was toxic. Maybe it didn't have enough oxygen. Then it starts dividing. Some cancers start out faster or slower. So the whole time that he was maybe diabetic and then not controlling his sugar, it had all the fuel in the world. And then every person might reach the point. So let me put it this way. Every single cancer is beatable. But not every single person is curable. Because some people have let it go too far for too long to ever recover. And that's one of the reasons that the way that we're talking about in living this way, the only way to become is to overcome cancer is to never get it. That's the only way to cure it 100% of the time. Yes, sir.
What about type 1 diabetes?
Type 1 diabetes. Now, some people will develop and have an autoimmune reaction that when they're born, they're type 1 diabetic. But the majority of type 1 diabetes is still autoimmune. And it develops later on in life. So the only way to fix that is still with the nutrition, the diet, you can control it the majority of the way. And then you use insulin until you figure out what caused the autoimmunity and you fix that. And then the pancreas stops getting attacked and the immunoglobulins go away and the pancreas starts working again. I've seen it multiple times. It's just not very common. Great questions. Thank you. Did I answer yours? Okay. So keep rapid firing. I love the questions. So here we go. What supports nutrition? Number one, I know we already talked about sugar, but it's actually number two. Number one thing that somebody needs to do to avoid getting cancer or to fix it and to supercharge your immune system is fix your fats. So this is a picture of a cell. Remember, oil and water don't mix, right? Oil and water don't mix, right? The only way to mix them is to have a soap. So what happens is they put fat on the outside of a cell and fat on the inside of a cell, and then the middle is where everything interlinks. And so it's called a phospholipid bilayer. That's every cell membrane. The cells in your bones, the white blood cells of your immune system, your red blood cells, your every kind of cell of every part of your body is made this way. And that part is all fat. So if you have sick fat, then every cell in your body is sick because that membrane has pores in it. And that's what passes the nutrition in, the oxygen in, and any of the waste products out so that every cell doesn't become toxic. So when you have a sick cell membrane from having sick fat, that's why people get sick over time. That's the number one thing to fix. How do you fix it? You get rid of the bad oils like canola oil and vegetable oil, and you get rid of those that are processed at high heat, put into plastic. So here's another way to get rid of glandular cancers. Glandular cancers are colon, endometrial, uterine, ovarian, testicular, and prostate. Those are the most common gland cancers. Heard of them? All right. What happens when you get one? They give you something to shut down the estrogen in the body, right? The aromatase inhibitors. People go on these estrogen blockers. Estrogen chemicals are coming in from our plastics. So if you're getting an oil into a plastic, and then it's in a clear bottle and the sunlight passes right through it, then those chemicals are coming in and you say to yourself, oh, come on, they got rid of BPA. Yeah, but they replaced BPA with BPS or BPF. Same chemicals, just a different name. It's just one little tweak. And we're just 5 or so years away from finding out that they cause as much cancer as BPA. The reality is bad oils also come from bad animals. So we get rid of the commercially raised beef and pork and all of these things. The reason that these people are here, Iron Roots Pastures and Gigi's Naturals, what they're doing is they're raising regeneratively farmed organic animals the way that we all did it 75 years ago, maybe it might have been 100, when we didn't have a bunch of chemicals and we were grass-fed and they were growing hay and we were feeding these animals, we were raising them and they were walking around like real animals instead of being stuck in a feedlot, which is basically like a couch potato with an endless count of food like potato chips. Does a person who weighs 300 pounds of pure muscle, who plays professional football, is that the same as somebody else who's 300 pounds of chewed bubble gum? Right? No, they're not the same. They both weigh 300 pounds. That's the only thing they have common, right? But the fact is that's what a commercially raised cow is versus the athlete, which is the normal cow that's raised by these people. So then they provide milk, eggs, pork, beef. It's all there right here locally. And then Gigi, she takes the milk and adds in the specific yogurt or the bacteria and creates a yogurt that then it gives us back our immune system. It repopulates. So many people have allergies. They have digestive disorder. They have irritable bowel syndrome. They have Crohn's and they have all of these different celiac and they have all these things and they have a weak immune system. Well, you need to repopulate that immune system. And so this is what she's doing along with other products that she has that help stimulate the immune system. And that's why they're here. They're here to look so you can meet the people who are providing the products that help you get back to being healthy. So I want to do something right now to help you be healthy. I need you to stand up. Stand up. Here we go. You've all heard about it. So what we're going to do is we're going to do fast feet. What we're going to do is pretend like there's a fire underneath your feet. And if you don't stomp it out, you are going to burst into flames. We're going to do this for 20 seconds, as fast and as hard as you can go to 90%. In 3, 2, 1, go. Move your feet. Move your feet as fast as you can. Come on, move your feet. Come on, dude. Come on. You're going to set on fire. Get yourself going. It's 90%. If I can do this while talking, you can do this. Come on. Move, 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 move. And rest. That is, it is delivering oxygen to your body. If you're deficient in oxygen, you're developing cancer. If you don't have the proper, circulatory system, every part of your body's, starving. Not to mention what high-intensity interval training does for you, like make you out of breath while you talk doing it. Like me. I'll let y'all have a seat. Perfect. So the quality of your nutrition matters. Let's also step back and say, besides our soul, what's more important than your health? If you don't have your health, can you be as good to your family? Can you be as good to the church? Can you be as good to your community? Can you be as good of a parent, a worker, on anything? But yet we're sold this system that says sacrifice your body so that you can go make somebody else some money. This is part of the lie that we sell ourselves for a paycheck. This is a part of the problem. When we think of our immune system, it requires certain nutrients. So let's answer this question. What is the most important vitamin or mineral for the immune system?
D.
C, B, who?
D.
D is in dog. Magnesium.
D3.
I love it. D3. Omega oils. That's also one that a lot of people forget. I love it.
Iron.
I love it. Okay. Right. This is us learning how to think. And I want this to resonate with you. There is no most important one. The most important one is different for every person, because the most important vitamin to your immune system is the one that you're most deficient in. It's the limiting factor, because I'd like to let you know that they're all equally important. There is a part of a chemical reaction inside of every part. Some are more important to the B cells. Vitamin A and vitamin E make the B cells work better to produce antibodies. So if you're deficient in those, you don't fight viruses as well. But the vitamin D, it is a part of supercharging the white blood cells to fight cancer. So if you don't have enough D, now you're more prone to cancer and you're more prone to bacterial infections. And on and on and on. And so when we think about this, the reason we do these workshops is to educate you on how to think and to start replacing that system out there that has enslaved you with BS. It's bad BS. It's a bad belief system. It's BS. It's a belief system. It's what you believe that determines your choices, that to get you your outcomes. And I'm sick of the BS. I was born for a time just like this, to speak to people just like you, and to serve people just like you. I am here to be a part of the solution. And it's coming like a freight train, because people are sick and tired of being tired and sick. And we see people getting worse, and we see other people getting richer. And the fact is that we need to get rid of the deficiencies that we walk around with every single day before we start trying to go off into the zincs and the thises and the that's. So the 5 most common deficiencies are vitamin D3. So we have a supplement. All of our supplements are regeneratively farmed, organic, and they're sourced and they're guaranteed to be 95% bioavailable. So what happens is that we understand, yeah, a lot of people are going to go, oh my gosh, okay, that's what I've been looking for. So everything's 15% off for the today, or 10% off for the rest of the supplements. And when we look at these things, the bundles are 15 because the daily essentials is the vitamin D3, but you need the healthy fats. If you're taking any D3, but if you're not taking it with fat, then you're not absorbing it. It's a fat-soluble vitamin. Vitamin A and vitamin E are also fat-soluble. So if you're taking them on with water, you're just pooping your money away. So the Daily Essentials has an omega oil in it that gives you the right amount of the healthy fats to remake all of your cells while giving you the D3 with the right bacteria that are in it so that you can absorb it. There is a magnesium pill in there because it's one of the most deficient minerals, and we have more arrhythmia problems with the heart, right? Magnesium is a part of every single muscle contraction in your body. Muscles don't contract or relax without magnesium. So if you're deficient in magnesium, first place that it shows up is heart problems, muscle cramps, little muscle twitches. Then there's a vitamin and mineral so that you get all the trace stuff. Because raise your hand. All right, let's play again. Raise your hand if you eat 7 servings of fruit, fresh, and 7 servings of fresh vegetables a day. I'll put mine down too. And my wife's a vegetarian, and we cook about 90% of our meals. So we still don't do it. That's why we need supplements. Because the fact is we're not eating that way. And if you're not eating that way, you're deficient. So then there's a multi-B vitamin in there so that you get all the Bs, because selenium is just as important as B6, just as important as B12. So we put them all in there, and they're methylated so that if you do have a genetic deficiency in methylating your vitamins and converting them into the working vitamin, then we skip that step for you so you can absorb them. And then the multivitamin, mineral B, D, and magnesium. Those are the vitamins that are in the daily essentials. But then the E and the A and the other things that will help supercharge your immune system is in the cell repair. Vitamin C was somebody's answer. Vitamin C is the second biggest water-soluble antioxidant. The biggest one is glutathione. Glutathione is made by the pro-NAC. N-acetylcysteine is the amino acid that is deficient most of the time when you don't make enough glutathione to repair your DNA. Glutathione is what repairs your DNA. So if you're deficient in NAC and vitamin C, you're not going to have a water-soluble immune system. Your white blood cells won't work very well. And zinc is a part of a lot of the immune system reactions. So this is why those are so important. That's why they're a part of the immune system bundle. This is a chart that hopefully y'all can read, but the top one in pink, it is if you get your blood levels to 60 to 90 milligrams per deciliter. So when you get your blood work, your immune system is on your blood work. You can see how healthy your immune system is. It's your neutrophils, your basophils, your leukocytes, your lymphocytes. It comes on all your blood work. You just need to know what they are and what they do. And that's one of the things we do for our patients is look at their blood work and help them understand that. Yes?
What about iodine? So they say we're deficient with iodine.
Sure, we are. Most people are. And it's another one of those things. It's actually in the cell repair. It's thyroid stuff, but it's also a part of our immune system and how it interplays.
Yeah.
Very much. So all of this stuff, but what I want you to realize is that when you get your blood levels to 60 nanograms per deciliter on vitamin D, you have an 83% reduction in all cancers. 83% reduction. So that's something to know, right? I mean, because so next time you look at your blood work, you can say, ooh, I'm taking enough or I'm not taking enough. It's not about your bones. I mean, osteoporosis really stinks, but dying of cancer usually kicks in before osteoporosis. So it's a next level. Knowing that 60 to 90 is where you're supposed to be, this is what we can do. And so what about immunity and exercise? Let's play again. Everybody stand up. Come on. Stand up. We're going to do some punches. We're going to get our blood levels back up by doing some punches. You get to pretend if what's in front of you is your worst enemy. Come on, participation is required. And so we're going to see how fast you can punch the snot out of whatever's in front of you. And we're going to do this for 20 seconds. In 3, 2, 1, go. And we're going as fast as we can. We're beating up whatever's right in front of us. Wow. She's going too fast, I can't see it. And so we're going, and stop. Breathe. Have a seat. So, most of us think about exercise. Well, I get enough exercise. I walk around at work. I lift, I bend, I twist, I do all this stuff. That's enough exercise. Exercise is meant to be done just like we did it. High intensity interval training has been shown to be as effective as chemotherapy at killing cancer. But where's the commercial? You're not going to get the commercial because they can't sell exercise. But they can sure sell you some chemo, and they don't want to prevent it. That would stop them from having the chemo. According to all the studies, journal, dietary intake, tobacco use, and physical inactivity may be the biggest risk factors for cancer that could be modified through lifestyle. Remember, 90% of the cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and obesity is caused by our lifestyle. So what if we talk to our kids and ourselves and we said, no, we're a family. Cancer doesn't run in our family anymore because we all run in our family. We all exercise. We all do this. So cancer doesn't run in our family anymore. When we look at this, the most definitive evidence is associated with 51 different studies conducted on colon and colorectal cancer. It demonstrated a reduction in cancer risk. So they followed these people over like 25 years, and it was like the most physically active when compared to the least physically active. The most physically active have had a 70% reduction in cancer. An equal number of studies are showing the same evidence associated with reduced risk of breast and uterine cancers and endometrial cancers. Sound kind of important? A 70% reduction? Can you imagine a world where our communities had 70% less cancer? And then you add in everybody's got enough vitamin D going. They're exercising regularly. What about hydration? Your immune system, you're 70% water, so if you're not getting good, clean water, you're a stagnant pond. Look around. We got plenty of ponds around here, right? What are they growing? They're growing that sludge floating on the top and everything else. Do you want that to be your body? No. So you need good filtered water. Remember, if you're using water in plastic bottles, you're increasing your risk of prostate, testicular, uterine, endometrial, and ovarian cancers, period. We know this for sure. So when you look at that, a buddy of mine, I just had this conversation with him on the way home last night, having my buddy named Harry, and he said, I was talking to him, I said, hey man, how you doing? He was like, oh, I'm doing good, and I've been working out and blah, blah, blah. And he said, and I've been drinking plenty of water. I keep a case of water at home, and I keep one in the trunk of my car. And I'm like, oh, you're cooking that plastic in water. I'm like, dude, filter your water. You need a stage 3 water filter or better. Filter your water into glass or stainless steel. Those are the inert substances. And then, so even using those filters, like when you're at the airport or you're at school or your places, and fill your stainless steel water bottles up there. If you're using plastic, you're increasing your risk of cancer. Not to mention that, how much water should you drink? How much water should my 5-year-old drink? It's a 1/2 ounce per pound of body mass. half ounce per pound of body mass. I weigh 200 pounds, so I drink 100 ounces of water. Now, the days when I'm running and exercising, which exercise should be done, the reduction in cancer is seen when people exercise 5 days a week to moderate or vigorous activity, and it can't go over an hour. If you exercise that hard for more than an hour, you begin to suppress your immune system. And that's why the runners, the ultra marathoners and the marathoners, they have the highest rates of cardiovascular disease. They have horrible cancer rates. It's because they're suppressing their immune system with too much, right? You do too much of a good thing. You can eat too much spinach, for goodness sakes. Did you have a question?
Well, I was going to mention that you can sterilize your water during glass bottles outside in the sun. Sunlight will sterilize.
UV light. UV light is the system we have in our system here. We have a UV light that is in the stainless steel side. And so the water gets filtered. It goes in there. And then the reservoir has a UV light in it that keeps any bacteria from growing. So yes. So when we look at this, hydration is essential. Half ounce per pound of body mass. I get asked all the time. Let's see if this is going to work. No, not yet. Okay, maybe. Let's do this. Yes. What's the best workout routine? Hey, doc, what's the best workout routine? Okay. What about when? When's the best time to exercise? I will challenge your way of thinking. Okay.
That gives me
That's the thought right there. That is the answer. The routine is less important than actually getting it done. So the routine that works for you, if it gives you more energy and you'll do it in the morning, do it in the morning. If you like it at night and it helps you sleep better, you do it at night. I don't care when you do it. It doesn't matter as long as it gets done. My Monday, Wednesday, Friday routine is different than my Tuesday, Thursday routine, and I don't exercise like that on the weekends. I go play with my kids. I play soccer or football or something, and I'm running around crazy. I mean, and that's my workout, right? It's different. Who cares? Just do it, right? Nike had it right. Just do it. Prioritize your sleep. Now, this is the one I will admit I'm terrible at. Horrible. Hardly ever get more than 6 hours a night. But I know that my body regenerates itself at night when I sleep. That's when your nervous system slows down, and all your nervous system is doing is identifying injuries. And then it's sending the white blood cells out to clean it up. It's looking for problems, and all it's doing is trying to clean up the mess you created from the day. That's what it does. It regenerates your organs. Realizing, here's the ugly juice. Everybody always asks me for my ugly juice. It's so funny. I was at the meeting tonight for the people who were speaking at the Hand Up House, and I went there to meet the guy, and as I was walking out, somebody said, hey, can I get your ugly juice routine? And so she's going to send you an email that asks for that today. And so the ugly juice is the kitchen sink of low glycemic index, vegetables, fruits, herbs, and berries that are all put in filtered water and blended up so that we do this at least 3 days a week where me and my kids, my wife, my whole family will drink many ounces of this every day to make sure that we get all of the vegetables and nutrients, because you can pound a quart of this way faster than you can eat 7 servings of fruits and vegetables. It's all in there. And so this is our, so if you have your emails on the sign-up sheet, we will be emailing this out. How do you reduce the amount of toxins coming into your body? All cancer, deficiency, toxicity, or a loss of control. So if you're getting toxins from the food, the way to do this is to, of course, ideally, you'd be buying things from Iron Roots and Gigi's. You would be shopping completely organic. But then you can also get these apps that are called Yucca. You can use EWG.org's Dirty Dozen and Clean 15. So you know the 12 worst pesticide sprayed foods, and then you have the 15 that are sprayed the least. Maybe you spend the money, save money with those, and you save that extra money to buy the others organic. only about, depending upon the month, 10 to 13% of the United States actively utilizes chiropractic on a regular basis because they're taught to just suffer through it. Even though neck pain, back pain, and arthritis of the spine, degenerative arthritis, are the number three of the top 5 causes of disability in America, of which 67% of all bankruptcies filed in America, so over half of the bankruptcies, are caused by major medical bills. So 3 of the top 5 disabilities. But yet, chiropractic's only used by 10 to 13%. Because people are taught to take a drug and tough it out until it gets so bad they need a surgery. And then they're on disability. And then they're stuck because 80% of back surgeries fail within 5 years. So if you have one when you're 25, you have an 80% chance of being disabled 5 years later when you're in your 30s.
All they call it practice.
Yeah, they're practicing all right. Yeah, they're practicing collecting their checks. And so this is the reality. So from a standpoint of longevity, teaching generational health is teaching generational good eating, good exercise, good like vitamin D and which supplements are important, fresh air and sunlight instead of Game Boys and the internet. We prioritize going to sleep. And then we understand that taking care of the connection between the brain and the body, the way that God created us, the nervous system controls the cardiovascular system, the digestive system, the immune system, every other system. Realize blood supplies oxygen and nutrition to every cell while carrying away the waste products. So if you don't have a healthy cardiovascular system from being overweight and not exercising, you're starving certain pockets of your body and it's going to turn into cancer. You're going to have heart disease. That's why they're the 2 number 1 killers. But what we don't talk enough about in chiropractic is when they did studies on the immune system, people who were under chiropractic care for 5 years or more had a 200% better immune system when compared to the average person. And when they compared those to people who had a cancer diagnosis, it was 400 times stronger. All from taking care of the nervous system, because the nervous system controls every other part of your body. So when it's healthy, you're healthy. And that's chiropractic. That's the basis of it, because a subluxation is a misalignment of the spine, putting pressure on a nerve. And the warning signs aren't just neck pain, back pain, and headaches. Those are the freight trains. Those are the check engine lights that we should all know. But it's the colicky babies and the ear infections and the weakened immune systems and the autoimmunities and the different things. They've done all the blood work on all these people and they usually go, we don't know why you have that, but we have a drug that can help you get over and deal with it, right? They all the time, they say, we don't know why you become a type 1 diabetic. We don't know why you have Parkinson's, Alzheimer's. We don't know, but we have this drug that can make you feel better while you die sooner. That's the healthcare system, y'all. We got to admit where we're at if we're going to fix it. The warning signs are that your body ain't working right. So how do you get your body working right? Treat yourself as good as you treat your plants. For gosh sakes. Give your body better food, better rest, better supplements, better chiropractic, better exercise. You're worth more than your plants. You're worth more than the dog and the cat. You're worth the effort. You are valuable. You were fearfully and wonderfully made. You weren't created to be afraid of how you were made. This is the lie. Wake up. Hang out together. Talk about these things. I didn't ask these questions about the diet and the immune system. I already knew them. I want you to learn to think about things better so that you don't become a statistic. So that I know I'm giving, loving, and serving in this community to save and change lives is the purpose of my life. These people are partnered with me. They're here to help change it by supplying you the products that you need. The number one thing any person can do is find out how sick their nervous system is. You got a kid with autism, you got a kid with ADD, you got a kid who gets recurrent ear infections, they need to be checked. It's screaming their nervous system isn't working right, and nobody else can tell you what's wrong. They can just give you a class 2 narcotic and tell them to sit down and shut up. Save them. Get them checked. We make it available to people to get their friends and family checked for $60 at workshops because you took the time to come here to learn something to help me change this community and to help you change your family. So it's $60 to get the exam and the x-rays. Any person you sign up on those sheets, if they call us and their name's on that sheet, they can get their exam for $60 this week or next week. That's why we do that. These are the websites that I live by, that I use, and I tell my friends and my family about, and you should know about. Folks, I was born for a time like this. I know I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. You may not agree with me, but hopefully you can agree that we need to be a healthier nation. Our president the new president coming in has Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as his health minister. He is going to come into this country, and he's already put out a message to the FDA and the CDC, and he said, we are going to, if you're a part of the problem, pack your bags. Folks, there is a healthcare revolution. It's coming. Max Living and chiropractic are the perfect people to become the new doctors to deliver real health care and to save and change people's lives by having real health care be the first thing that people get instead of a pill or poison. And so we're going to do a raffle right now. We're going to raffle off a couple of things that people have brought to, there's that. Thank you. So,
first of all,
yeah, tell me what we're giving away.
we have a dozen eggs from...
Dozen eggs. Jay Morris? Oh, yes. There you go. Absolutely. A dozen eggs. What's that? Vitamin D. Let's see if I can filter through here. Robbie Scott. Oh, there's that guy right there. Good.
Vitamin C.
Vitamin C. John McAfee. All right. Okay. You already probably bought that. Tammy Cagle. Nice. All right. And
From Miss Gigi's.
oh, yes.
Cindy.
Miss
We've
Cindy.
got a whole pint of her fresh yogurt.
Ashlyn Brainerd. As her fresh yogurt. This is the stuff right here. This will be rebuild your immune system right here. We buy that by the quart, and I have my kids eat a spoonful a night when they aren't punting. They're kids. And a pop socket is Brittany Tipton. This goes on your phone, and it comes back to you. There you go. There you go. Folks, I hope that most importantly, you leave here and you get to implement some of these things in your lives, and you help us change the story from generational disease to generational health. Right now, take just the next couple of seconds and imagine that what you say to your families is, cancer doesn't run in our family. We no longer have Parkinson's in our family. Alzheimer's, we got rid of that a long time ago. Realize that your health determines what grows inside of you, Then that child is born. They're raised differently. Then they get to raise the next generation differently. And that's when the magic happens. Because this is when they stop being grown in toxic people, having toxic children, and then having toxic lives. So these are the things that we need to hold on and change to generationally. This is what's coming. Thank you for being here. Have a blessed night.
Thank you for having
Thank you. Good, thank you.
Very important. Yes.
How you doing? Everybody check out